Patching a hole in drywall is something you can do yourself. You just need a little advice and the right tools. And if you do it correctly, you won't see the patch at all. For this project, you're going to need a few tools and some products which we have on display right here. But let's talk about the compound you're going to use to actually make the patch. Now, if you're joining two pieces of drywall together or a larger hole, you're going to use joint compound. But for smaller holes, say the size of a nail or even something as large as a dime, you can use spackling. Use a putty knife to apply a thin coat, and you can actually sand and paint within 30 minutes. Large holes like this can be repaired with a peel and stick metal patch. But what's important to remember is that the patch has to overlap the hole by at least 2 inches, otherwise you won't get a smooth repair. So for this one, we're actually going to make the hole bigger, and I've already drawn lines where we're going to take a keyhole drywall saw and start cutting the drywall. Use a tape measure to measure the size of the hole, then cut out a new piece of drywall to fit into the hole. These are drywall repair clips. You slide them into the existing opening to help support the new piece of drywall you're going to install. Use a screw gun or screwdriver to install drywall screws about 1.5 inches below the opening. The screw will drive into the clip and secure it into the hole. Now it's time to install the piece of drywall that you measured to fit into the hole. But keep in mind that because of the clips, you may have to fine-tune the piece. You can either use a piece of sandpaper or a file or rasp to take a little bit off so that it fits snugly into the hole. Now you can install the screws into the clip to hold a new piece of drywall in place. Then use a pair of pliers to break off the clips that you see on the surface. Use the edge of your taping knife to scrape to make sure everything lies flat. Then use fibermesh tape, which is the easiest to use because it's self-adhesive. Go over the crack, and here's a trick. Use the blade of the taping knife against the fibermesh tape, grab the roll, and then pull to cut it. Repeat that step so all 4 sides are covered with the fibermesh tape. Now it's time to apply the joint compound. The trick to getting wall patching done correctly are thin, even coats. What you want to avoid is building up the joint compound too heavily, because then you'll see a big hump along the wall. And you have to also make sure that you allow the joint compound to dry in between coats, typically overnight. Once the 3rd coat of joint compound has been applied and it's dried, you can use a sanding sponge in a fine grit to now sand all the ridges off of what you've patched. Once it's all smoothed out, prime it, paint it, and you're done. Humidity and temperature can affect the drying time when you're using spackling and joint compound, so make sure you allow enough time. If you need more advice, visit your neighborhood Ace Hardware store and find us online at acehardware.com.